yeah.
I thought it was
Uh,
funny her conversation with her grandpa, and she was like, "I made a great step into adulthood today," and he's like, "Oh no, who's the bastard? I mean, who's the lucky guy?" And I was like, "Oh, Gramps thought she either got laid or got pregnant."
Ladies and gentlemen, people of all ages, welcome back to Herbal Synergy, the shop. I'm your co-host, the silver medalist in last week's tournament, Irby, and with me, we have the up-and-coming author who is writing a rather riveting story about a man and his dog, Sinji. How you doing, man?
Whoa. Okay, I have multiple. I'm good. Thank you for asking. Thank you. How are you?
Hanging in there.
Okay, I have multiple questions now.
Nah, ain't no questions. Let's get into the
No,
stuff.
no, 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 no. Slow your roll. I have questions.
Nah, I ain't got
Did,
no
did,
answers.
did you want to do the intro just so you can call yourself a silver medalist?
Yeah, I figured we'd do something with the Olympics since they here.
And damn it, that's not what all my story is about. There's a first
Nah,
half.
I see. I ain't want to get the people all of that stuff. Just give them a little little taste, and they be coming back for more.
Oh my god. All right, questions are gone. Go ahead.
Yeah. So flavors. What's your flavor? Tell
Oh
me
man,
what's your flavor.
I have so many, man. I told you about that manga or manhwa I'm reading. It has like 180 chapters. It started late last week or this week. Yeah, this week. We're still in this week. And I'm at like chapter 145 or some shit like that.
Mm,
But I think I'm gonna give this week's flavor to Donald Knopf from Weak Hero. You know that one you gave up on?
yeah, the one that didn't encapsulate my interests.
Yeah, cause my man, he got cut with a knife, and then he had this little flashback and made it seem like he was gonna be traumatized and he was gonna lose. And then the caption was like, "What Donald felt wasn't fear, it was rage." And then he went ballistic and beat the fuck out of this dude. And I was like, "Oh, okay, go Donald." Don't know how you're still in high school, all those tattoos, but hey.
To be like that.
Yeah, in a lot of cartoons,
They be
kids,
looking
yeah, they be having
old.
yeah. Why all these kids have tattoos, bro? What the fuck?
Like Bleach. I was like, man, ain't no way Chad in ninth grade. That man bigger than me. Some ninth grade.
Yo,
Come
he
on
stopped a
now.
metal beam for falling,
Yeah.
and like within the first 5 episodes or some shit.
Yep. So I was like, ain't no way. A lot of high schools be looking like that. I'm like, ain't no way. You got a full grown beard? I just had a little caterpillar on my upper lip when I was in high school.
um, I think I had a decent beard in high school. I
That's
didn't take care
cause
of it.
mm, yeah. But yeah. Mm, more than so
Would you
my
want to start
flavor
over?
to
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
my
shit, your
flavor
flavor.
yeah, my flavor, I was gonna go with my senpai is annoying.
That's your flavor.
Yeah, it was when Igarashi was talking to a lady in the coffee break room, and she was like, "Oh, you like coffee?" He's like, "Yeah, I like it with sugars and such." And then she's like, "This is my favorite drink," and she
She
whips
pulled out
out
the
a
vodka bottle,
vodka
bro.
bottle, and I was like, "Dang, this early? You just got to work?" And it turns out it was water. So that's when I was like, "Okay." Had me going. I was like, "Oh, whew, funny,"
Oh my
but
god.
yeah. Mm-mm.
Well, since we're on the topic of my senpai is annoying, you want to just talk about that?
Yeah, we can go on that one. So we started off a new show to watch. My senpai is annoying. Um, this first episode is Each Other's Strides. So it
Yeah.
starts off, she starts making breakfast and stuff, and I was like, oh, this little girl's self-autonomous. And she's cooking and cleaning, and I'm like, okay, she's getting ready to go to, I'm thinking she's gonna go to school or the rec center or something. But then I seen her put on a little skirt suit, and I was like, okay, she's finna go to work. So it just messed me up. Um, so I was like, dang. So we find out she works in sales, and her supervisor's name is Taka Takadai. Yeah. And so she has this big old presentation today,
Is it
and
Takadai?
yeah,
I thought it was Takeda.
it they pronounce it differently. I guess I don't know, but but yeah. So I mean, it's spelled Takeda, but hey, um, different emphasis on syllables. So but anyhow, so she has this big old presentation, and she's like, "Oh, check it out," and she gives it to him, and he's like, "Oh, good job," and kind of head mashes her like she's a good little kid. And this this is the part where she goes to the coffee machine, and she's like, so yeah, I like coffees with sugars, and this is what I like. And then she's talking to her coworker, and the coworker's like, "This is my favorite drink," and she whips out the vodka, and I'm like, "This early?" She's like, "Oh, it's just water. It's just in the vodka bottle." And I was like, "Really? You couldn't have got your water bottle?" But it's funny because I did remember seeing something a long time ago where this person put water in a chocolate syrup bottle, and she would drink it at the gym, and she's like, "People always look at me crazy." So anyhow, uh,
I
so that
wonder
happened.
why.
Yeah. And then so they end up going on a sales call, and she like kind of scolds him for walking so slow. She's like, "You don't have to walk so slow because of me." And he's like, "Oh, it's okay. Take your time sometimes." And she's like, "You can walk your normal pace." So she gets all mad. And then he proceeds to just walk normally.
And
And
she
now she
has to like
tired.
jog and run, bro.
Yeah.
She's
And
so
now you
small.
now you tired. I'm like, okay, that's kind of what you get.
Damn.
And so then they go to lunch, and she sees this. It's like, I guess it would be like a fast food restaurant that has like Happy Meals, and she sees this doll, and she's like, "Oh, I really want that doll," but she's like, "I can't get the doll now because I'm supposed to be grown up." And then so he's like, "Oh, and I'll take one of those little meals. Make sure you give me the doll too." And so she gets it, and she has the doll, and they're eating whatever, they go about the day. And then we find out she's at her second year of the company, and then they get to the time for the presentation, and she freezes up. I'm like, "Oh no, this is your big chance." And so he comes and steps in and helps her out. And so that happens. Then they're back on the train, and Kazuma's there too, and they're talking, and she falls asleep on Takeda. And so he proceeds to put a filter on them and send photos to the office, which is pretty funny. She didn't find it funny, which I could expect that because she's a little bit prideful. And we find out she messes up an order, and Takeda covers for her, and then she's like, "Oh, why'd you do that?" And this, that, and whatever. It turns into a life lesson. And she's like, "Oh, we got to." He's like, "You don't need to apologize to me. You need to apologize to the client." So they go to the client, whatever, apologize, happens stuff, and Takeda, uh, after Ikawashi is sitting there. She's trying to get a soda, and Takeda has one because the machine she went to was out, and he gives her soda. She's like, "Oh, thanks," and da 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 da. And then they end up going out for drinks. And this is another funny part. And so they had rectified the problem, and they went out for drinks, and they're talking, and he it kind of gets a little sentimental, and she asks him why he looks after her, and he's like, "Oh, if I ever have a wife and child," and he's like, "I would want my kid to be just like you."
And I was like,
And
damn, she got kids owned.
yeah, and then she was like, "I don't get it. Why can't I just be your wife?" And so I was like, "Dang." She
Oh, is that
she
what she said in the dub version?
yeah. Well, that's what they said. Can I switch it over to see? Well, no, I'll switch over for something else. But yeah, she was like, "Yeah, why can't I be your wife?" So yeah.
I thought it was
Uh,
funny her conversation with her grandpa, and she was like, "I made a great step into adulthood today," and he's like, "Oh no, who's the bastard? I mean, who's the lucky guy?" And I was like, "Oh, Gramps thought she either got laid or got pregnant."
yeah.
Which, if she got
So
pregnant, she got laid. But you know,
yeah, pretty much. So that concludes the episodes, and then the next episode, Udon with the occasional full moon. So she's kind of upset about what happened the night before, and she's going about her day. And he was supposed to go to lunch with some old man, but he was like, "Oh, I suddenly just remembered I got something to do," pulling an old cop out there. And so they go to lunch together. He tells her, and she laughs. He's like, "Oh," he's like, I knew you didn't mean anything. That was just the alcohol talking." And mind you, she had chugged a whole like gallon of beer. It looked like, and that was a huge mug for such a little person.
I was gonna say, yeah, she probably has a way less tolerance.
Yeah. So then they're coming back from lunch, and they run into Kazuma and company, and they get to talk. And she's like, "Oh, y'all sure too, or sure are friendly or whatever." And she's like, "There's nothing going on between us." And so then she starts wanting to Tucker to see her as a woman, and then she goes and asks Sakura the secret for bigger boobs. And the way she was drinking a little juice box, I thought that was hilarious because she looked like a little kid. Yeah, so then she leaves to meet up with her friend Natsumi, and so they're walking through, and they see some lady with um these little squishy bear things, and she's like, "Oh my god, they're so cute! I'll take two." Mind you, I kind of figured what she was gonna do with them. So then she goes
I
and
don't think that's what she intended right away until she like
I
felt how
mean
soft they were.
I meant like in the regards to like this the storyline.
Just the
I was like, oh
episode.
yeah, I was like, oh, because they do foreshadow a little bit with stuff. But so she grabbed two of them. I was like, oh, I was like, when you just need one? And I was like, she got two. I said, I know what this episode going to be doing. So then I go into the shop. She tries them. She's like, oh, there's some I want to try on, and she tries them on, and she's like, she stuffs them in her shirt, and then her friend Natsumi takes photos. Like, oh, you're just so cute.
I'm
Because
just
I
trying to
guess,
get to the train part of this episode.
yeah, that one was hilarious too. So then she kind of they part ways, and she goes on the train, and she still has them in her shirt. And Takeda and Kazuma was in there, and they start talking. And I guess she kind of bumps into them all, like, oh, she's like, please don't notice me, please don't notice me. And she bumps into them, and they're like, oh, hey, Igarashi, it's nice to
Because
see
I
you.
was
And
just
then,
like head here, head there, head here, head there. Looking at her, looking at him, looking at her. I was like, hey, don't you notice?
yeah, and Kazuma's like, oh, he's like, did he know anything different? He's like, nope, I didn't even notice. So then she goes home and she calls her grandpa, and they're talking, and she asks him for like life advice, and she's like, "Yeah, what would you do if I just got boobs big all of a sudden or something?" And he's like, I gotta tell her some good stuff." And then her phone dies in the middle of him saying something.
Yo, Grandpa's built, bro.
Yeah, I'm trying to look like grandpa when I get old.
That man work out.
Yeah, so so then the next day they're on the subway and they're talking. Um, yeah, and some man takes some upskirt photos of Igarashi, and my man uh Takeda judo flips him. So,
I'm just like, how
and
do
then
you not notice that? She's so small. You know how low he has to bend down to get an upskirt photo?
yeah, well, he noticed. She didn't notice. So I was like, huh. But yeah, backtrack a little bit. Sakurai was getting talked to by some man that was trying to take her out, and she ain't really want to. So my man Kazuma calls calls her desk phone, and her cubicle mate was like, "Hey, you got a phone call?" And she comes back and answers the phone, but she uses it as an excuse, like, "Hey, I gotta go take this." And then so she goes and takes it, and it's really Kazuma just calling from the corner to help her out. And she thinks it's funny and hilarious. She's like, "Oh, thank you, he's so nice." And then so it's pretty much all there for episode 2, episode 3, and it's Christmas. And this is another foreshadowing part. She gives her scarf to a kid that lost her scarf. So I was like, oh, I know what she's doing for Christmas. And they have a secret Santa, and Igarashi is going to be the Santa, and Natsumi is the Santa.
I've seen a
And
scene
so,
from this episode on Instagram before. I just didn't know that it was this series.
yeah, I'd seen some before too. I was like, oh, this looks like it might be a cool one. Thought it definitely was going to be about little kids going to the rec room or little kids and mentor type stuff. So thought it was going to be kind of like Uramichi, which it's, still has its chance. Good show, good series so far. So uh, Natsumi and Igarashi meet for dinner, and she's like, "Are you seeing someone?" And this, and she's like, "I'm not even seeing no one. He's just a coworker." Which she's like, "Ooh, okay, give me the details later." And so they go shopping, and she's like, "I gotta get him something nice." So she buys him a tie, and she's gonna give him for Christmas, but she chickens out when she gets there. So they give out the gifts in the office, and the next day she arrives early so she can give him the gift. But Kazuma's there,
I'm
and
just saying, like, we skipped over this. She went to sleep with the light on.
sometimes I go to sleep with the light on.
You go to sleep with the light on?
See if I'm tired enough.
You be too tired to turn the light off?
No, I get up later and turn it off, but like I can fall asleep with the light on.
No, I'm saying she went to sleep with the light on. Like, she got in her blanket and everything. The light was completely on.
Yeah,
And, like, she was hiding. She was trying her best to hide the bag, but, like, it literally says man's eye on the bag.
yeah.
Go on.
So so she does that. Um, then like the next day happens, and Sakurai grabs Zenoma Kazuma. And that's a notable love interest side story plot, and and then Igarashi and Takadai go and have dinner, and then she gives him the tie, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I got you something," and gives her a scarf. He's like, I noticed, yeah, because you gave your scarf to the little kid, and da da da, whole spiel. And so the next day, he comes to the office with a tie, kind of like the one that she got him. And he was like, "Yeah." And he starts talking to her. She's zoned out. She's kind of mad. She's like, "I know you didn't like it. If you didn't like it, you could throw it away." And da 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 da. And he's like, "Yeah, I just wanted to frame it and keep it on my desk because it's a real nice tie." And she's like, "No, just wear the tie," which was funny. I laughed at that. So
There's too much romance in this company.
yeah, I mean that's most places though, uh, where it's like that. Yeah, I would say yeah, love interest happens. But some people work with their significant other, so yeah. Mm. But yeah, it's fun. I'm enjoying it so far.
So
It's
I can't
funny.
wait to hear Pete's reaction. It's like, what? This motherfucker picked a slice of life over Overlord? Man.
Shoot. Yeah, I ain't trying to see I like shows that have less than 20 episodes, so that way you keep it fresh. You know, something new, so it's not the same thing droning on and on over. Cause after these 13, I could pick another show that's 13 and keep it moving. Overlord's one of those one I just watch on my own time.
Yeah, Irby's gonna have me watching a hella shit I probably wouldn't have watched.
Yeah, dog, you gotta broaden your horizons. It's like, you don't want to eat a well done steak. You try medium rare and you're like, oh, I love medium rare. And next time you try, um, what's the one down from that? You try that
The
next.
hell no. Nope. I'm good with medium. I stay medium, so it's either medium well or medium rare, and that's the most it'll be off.
Mm, ain't nothing wrong with a little pink and pink.
I'm okay with pink. I'm just saying, if I order medium rare and it comes rare, I'm gonna be upset.
You ain't nothing rare. You might like rare. Give it a chance.
You're
Give
basically eating it
peace a
raw. You're
chance.
basically eating it raw.
Hmm. But you can't eat meat like that though.
You
You
can,
can't
but
eat hamburger like that just because of the way they process the hamburger. So yeah, fun fact.
you can, but I don't feel like you should because like raw meat, that's what our appendix is for to process raw meat. But like I feel like that's why appendixes explode because like you don't use them and then you use them and then you don't use them and it's just like it doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, no, but you shouldn't eat that kind of it's more of a when I say you can eat your steaks raw, it's because of the way they cut off the steaks off of the meat. Like the process of making ground beef, there's so many contaminants in it that make it unsafe to eat if it's not cooked well. That's why I'm saying that.
Hmm. Well, let's talk about a little bit of Chojin, I guess. Let's get this out the way because it wasn't even a chapter worth mentioning, I guess. It was just, hey, Ali's working hard to be a keeper training, and Tokyo still doesn't know what to do with his life.
Yeah, sounds like me.
And Izuma is just being Izuma and observing things.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
they're hunting for Tokyo. Don't know why they're hunting for Tokyo, but they're hunting for Tokyo.
because they want the ones that got the injections.
Oh,
That's
and
what they
Tokyo
said.
doesn't
Yeah,
have complete control of his power because he just wanted to transform his legs, but did a complete transformation.
yeah, that was worth noticing. Um, yeah, you do find a little bit about the keepers at Yamoto Moria. So that's what they call them. People, the good Chojins. Uh, so so yeah, in Tokyo, he just tells Azuma he's worried Eli is gonna outwork him and this, that, and the other. I did have an interesting quote here. He's like he tells him the artist, if you don't see like the work in the stone as a sculptor, then like you're already left behind. I was like, oh, that's deep. And another thing I did find cool, well, interesting, was that the dogs that they summoned were supposed to get the scent of the ejected people, and they ran right by Azuma. I was like, oh, so he must not have no powers.
Maybe, but they were everywhere.
Yeah, they were, but the wild dog came up and then was like, oh, ran right by him to go get Tokyo.
Yeah, because like, Ellie wasn't ejected; she was infected.
Yeah, so they're pretty much searching for those two because the other two people were killed. So
We'll see.
yeah.
You want to talk about a little Tower of God, bro?
Yeah, I do a little bit of TOG. Let's see here. Where to start?
What
Um,
chapter is Irby on?
I'm on chapter 254 to 261.
254 to 261. Okay, all right.
Yeah. So Eric pops Joe out of the Tharassa. And Hockney says he'll catch Joe. And then I love how Eric is calling Bam baby. It's funny. He's like, hey, baby. So he tells him he has to use his Senshu control to make a crack so that he could destroy the Harassa. And then we flash to Kun's group. Beta is the only one impervious to the Senshu being moved. So so he's out there doing what he does. And Kun thinks it's kind of because he's an ignition weapon. Tells him to take them to Horion. Then Grandisay is there. Horion reminds him of the promise he made to the previous guide, and this had agreed to give them the ladle to free him, and that the kid from that place is gonna show up, and so no frees him and the kid, and he gives them the ladle. Kind of company shows up, and they are fused together, which was interesting. They flee to Bam. Bam had created a crack, and Eric is going to destroy the Tharassa. And then the red orb flows into Bam, which is mysterious. I think it's the red Thrassa,
Mm.
which, we'll see. And then Hoquin reaches the soul room. So, which is funny, Karaka's a little floating head, and he asks how Hoquin will get the souls, and he gets them. He gets started trying to break the spell, and Eric asks questions, asks if Bam wants to join Wolf's Hong Song, however you pronounce it, and apparently they don't discriminate there. Bam says no. He flies to meet Kun's group. Eric introduces himself to the group, and this is another one that I found funny. And they're all stunned for different reasons. And someone calls him a pervert and asks, "Has he?" Uh, and it says he has a being that comes from out of there, which is innuendo. Funny. Yuri shows up questioning Eric. Eric flees. Kun tells Bam of Rachel's collapsing. And the Snorlax lady put Rachel to sleep to stop her metabolism from being poisoned. And Horion catches up and tells them she has had a bad feeling for a while now. Heljo wakes up and asks Hockney questions. Uh, then Joe says he will make Hockney tell him how to get out. They clash. Hockney is like, I really wanted to kill you, but it's disappeared because of your current state, because you're so pitiful. And his henchman shows up, Sanchez. Joe acts like he doesn't know him, says he's just an ordinary old repairman. And Eric shows up to talk to Joe. Joe curses him out. Eric says it was his fault for giving him that kind of power. Eric tells Joe to snap out of it, tells Joe he returned to the real him, tells him to try again. And Joe's like, how could someone like you, who's always been powerful, understand how I feel and that I can't start over? And Hoquin beats the spell, and I guess the soul started leaving other people because he had them. So I was like, dang. So we find out Hoquin's close to full power. Karaka tells him to flee because Eric is still in town, which is a problem. Karaka wants him to absorb the other clones. Kun surmises that a problem has arisen in the spirit room. They want to go to the spirit room to investigate. And so they ask him, Horion asks him, is it wise? Bam says he made a promise and can't stand by and watch everyone on the floor, death disappear. Horion goes to guide them to the secret path that Fug knows about, that Karaka should have went down, but didn't. And Karaka and White kind of figured that, so they went down a different path. And they get there, and White stops just before he's about to leave, and he, of all people, has Rachel on his mind for whatever reason. I'm like, really, Rachel? Can't stand her. And then Hoquin's body can't move.
Yes, let the hate for Rachel fester.
I just you had her of all people on your mind.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So let's see. And then they approached the final guardian, and I think it looked like the thorn was in his forehead for a second. I was like, huh. And then he had to dispatch the guardian, and they beat him, and we flashed to Garam. She has Evan and Ice, and she wants Evan to stay quiet about her being alive. And Evan asks who is helping her and stopping information from getting to the 10 families properly. And she's like, think about it. And then turns out it's the great family Lita. So, and the person that helped the Garam helped Asa and Dajah behind the scenes, and he completed a spell to preserve the thorn. And the floor death is his design, and he's the Poe Bidon Lita. He says that Ho Quinn, he shows up, he's floating above Ho Quinn now, and he says, "You stole the souls. I never knew that they would teach you to be a thief in the Arya family," which I was like, dang, that's kind of disrespectful. Uh, he says he looks like he already paid the price. He's like, "I'll let you pass." But he can't pass because the souls can't leave the floor. And so Eric reaches the path that they were supposed to be on. Hoquin's kind of, not Hoquin, Horion's kind of sick that they aren't there because Eric was moving at light speed. And so he tries to leave. He can't keep getting thrown back because of Hoquin keeps getting thrown back because of the curse. And White tells him he's going to break out. And Gustang uses spatial. Yeah, his guy name's Gustang. He uses some sort of stuff, and Uric uses spatial distortation to get to Gustang to talk to him. He's like, "What are you doing here on the floor of death?" And Gustang takes the souls out of Hoquin again. I'm like, "Ooh, guy's strong." And he asks Eric if he wants the souls. Eric's like, "No, he doesn't." And Eric's like, "My friend's just soul is in there. We need it." And he's like, Gustave says, "Eric, you never cease to amaze me." He says Eric's equal to the 10 families of Jihad and can rival them, or they're equal. And he's like, "Well, there's also one other person on your level." And then he kind of looks at Bam. "And then my boy Rack returns." And a
Hey,
woman, yeah, a woman asks him, "What are you looking at?" And Rex says, "I'm watching my prey." Because there was some sort of big beast rock animal that was there.
I can't wait for you to
So
find out where he is.
yeah, I know where he is.
Oh, you know where he is?
Yeah, I know where he is.
Where is he?
It's later. I'll tell you later. But so there's a beast that Rack needs to defeat to leave. Last time he tried, he failed, and he can't leave the place after until after he's the attack. And so Gustav returns the souls, and he's going to ask Bam for a favor. He wants to test Bam, and Gustav was tracking Bam's movement, so he knew all about Bam, his whereabouts, what he's doing. So I feel like he might be working with Fug too, but he wants to test whether Bam is the one to change the tower, destined to take the thorn, and is he the savior that Arlene spoke of. Gustav doesn't want to talk about Bam's father. Um, yeah, he says he's the absolute worst person he ever met, which is interesting. Uh, he says if you want to ask any favors about it, any favors from him, you can do it. So he asked for Rachel to be given the antidote, but are healed. And so I'm kind of like, why didn't he just ask Fabregas about the antidote or make him tell him when he was there? So um, so that happens. Hold on one sec. Uh, so then we flash the Wangnan group, and they want to get Rachel back, and Rangnan says the only reason why he was going along with this because he wanted to stab Rachel in the back at all costs. And my man Gustav fixes Rachel by looking at her. Just look. I was like, okay. So Eric tells Joe he may have a way out for him. Joe doesn't want to leave because he's weak now. He says he wants to live the way he wants to live. And he's just a loser. I'm like, dang. I say that to myself every time I look in the mirror. But Bam and Gustan are in the spirit room, and the Thorn is there. Gustan will break the seal, but he wants Bam to find an item. It is where Gustan can't go. The item is in a regular area, hidden on the floor on the train. Bam has to clear the train to get to the room, and there are rules where you can't sync your data. And the rules are for like everyone who reveals details about the existence of the floor outside loses their save data and memory. And I kind of like was thinking to myself, did this happen to Bam? Is that why Bam didn't know anything about himself when he was first there?
Maybe.
I don't know. Just thinking out loud here. And so there's like two. She says there's like two things. You become a ranker, and your data remains on the floor, but you cannot enter the floor again. And third, you cannot update your data or bring any goods or items attained in the floor outside the floor. So yeah, some good stuff. And he wants to give them the master key so that they can get the item. The data Jihad trusts most is on the floor. The greatest obstacle is the data of young Jihad. Which I was like, oh, okay. He kind of looks like a Wangnan. So
Well, there is that whole thing about the princess of the.
yeah, the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So, in order to get the thing Gustan wants, they have to defeat Jihad from the Hell Train, which I'm assuming is pretty powerful. Bam asks Gustav if he can remove the spell uh, on the floor of death, and he says it's not possible. It would put Garam in danger, and most residents don't want to leave anyway.
Wait, so presumably Karaka has yellow blonde hair under that armor.
So I thought that was just his whole body.
We had this discussion.
Nah, I don't remember.
So that's not his whole body.
Shoot, well, oh well. I gotta see it to believe it. So, yeah. The residents don't want to leave. Karaka's group is planning on leaving. Garam tells Yuri to meet her. Yuri brings in Dorsey, and Garam's kind of mad. And Dorsey was like, oh, Anak wasn't lying, and that there was a missing princess really on the floor of death. And Garam took care of her briefly because she's her niece. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And Garam asked Dorsey if she likes Viol, and she says there will come a time says whether you like him or not, there's come a time where you think he could change the tower, or you like him as a person. You have to choose between the two. Yeah. So then we flash to Gusting and Ulrich talk, and Gusting can erase everyone's memories, and Ulrich's kind of like, nah, whatever. And so Hockney's picture is complete now, mostly, and they say goodbye. And he says goodbye to Mata. Bam says he will come back to the floor of death, make things right. And then Rack feels turtles are coming to get him. I'm like, okay. And then we flash to some people that was there with Rack when he fell down. What, Awa and D Hawa, they're climbing the tower. And Bam kind of frets because Rack wasn't among them, which he should have been. And then Eric starts throwing questions at Bam, as if he came from outside the tower. Bam tells him that he doesn't know much from outside the tower. And Eric's like, oh, so you're from outside the tower as well. And he only learned about his parents recently. And he said that Jihad was his parents' sworn enemy. And then Eric tells Bam not to pay any attention to any of the going ons in the tower. Tells him not to lose himself and keep being yourself. Wang Nun group reaches a mysterious door on the train, what I think might be the hidden floor, and Haraka's going to use them as bait. Wang Nan and the other little girl. And Bam asks Kun for a word, and he tells Kun about the key and the other information. They will go and they go ask the conductor or the engineer for information, and they they have to get to the room of time pass. It's only accessible at 9 p.m. train time. And then Sleepy Girl, Snorlax, she's texting someone. It's like, "I'll deal with it as soon as I find the item." I'm like, okay, what is she planning? So, kind of asked Bam how he's feeling since he has a thorn. Bam says he hasn't tried it yet because he wants to determine who has the right between him and Rachel. I'm like, you stupid man.
Mm.
It's yours, dog. It's like we gotta come up with a fair test now, Bam. It's yours. She ain't stopped Joe. She ain't defeat Joe, because that's what they were supposed to do. But Bam also has an upgrade. His range increases. He can read situations better. Um, Hockney got his eyes back, and he has his sight set on a picture. Um, he thinks the picture's at the next location, and Guston gives a pawn something. That pawn is Rachel. So I'm like, oh, okay. So then there's some animal type creature, and
Little
Bam goes,
stingray.
yeah, Bam goes, checks on Rachel. Khan asks if anyone wants to help the group, and he's like, I can't tell you much until you agree because the condition will make you forget about it. And he tells him, meet me here at 2. And Horion isn't going to accompany Bam on this journey. She has another affair to attend to. Khan's like, oh, this is suspicious. You've been with us this whole time. Now you want to leave? Psh. And so Bam and Rachel, she tells about the deal. And the deal is whoever finds the floor gets a thorn, and Rachel cuts Bam's cheek with a little stingray that she didn't even know about she had. And Dorsey asks, "How long do you intend to defend that bitch?" I'm like, "Okay, and Dorsey, I see you, girl." And she goes talk to Rachel, and Dorsey says she's jealous of Rachel. Why Bam wants to follow her and whatnot. And Rachel's like, it's like, you don't have anything to be jealous of. You're a princess and you're strong and you're this. And then Dorsey's like, all right, that's enough. Let's go to this room so you can prove your skills. And she tells her, if you win, Rachel, you can go to the floor. And Rachel's, I can't win. That's unfair. And Dorsey attacks her, and he starts to beat her. And she's like, oh, it's a hindrance if you're this weak. And Hockney tells Bam he has a bad feeling and he could see someone near death. And Dorsey kind of senses the being behind her and shoots a needle at Rachel, and then it breaks. So that fight starts there. I'm like, oh, okay. I see you girls.
Yeah,
So
and Dorsey might be the biggest Rachel hater of all, other than
after you,
Rachel.
yeah. Rachel hates herself.
Rachel hates herself.
Dang. I would too if I was doing messed up stuff to people I supposedly cared about.
And
But
saying after me is debatable because I think the entire Tower of God fandom hates Rachel.
nah, I don't hate her. I just hate her ways.
Isn't hating her ways the way she chooses the same as hating her?
Not necessarily. Like I can hate that you're an alcoholic, but I don't hate you. I can hate
Mm,
how you only like watch stuff and sub, but I don't necessarily hate you. I just hate the way of you doing that.
hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, pretty much the entire fandom hates Rachel.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. And that's it. That's all I got.
All right,
Next.
so let's talk about a little Jujutsu Kaisen.
Yes. I did enjoy Jujutsu.
Did you?
Yeah. I always like Jujutsu.
I was gonna say, there wasn't much going on in this chapter either.
Yeah. So, I don't know his name. It's like Duvra or something. His Shikigami is disappearing, and there's like two people just talking about making a move on a Kurorushi, and they're survivors from somewhere because I guess they're trying to be saved by Yuta. And there's a horde of bugs, and they come in and they eat one boy, and Yuta uses Rika to help with the swarm. Uh, yeah, and a cockroach has awoken hungry, so you just gotta fight that.
Utakon.
Yeah, um, yeah, and he's like, "Oh, you gotta be taken down because you're indiscriminate attacks." And Kenjaku is worth 400 points, and so the enemy has a festering sword, uh, and each blade that it's a blade that mixes life and death. So
That's pretty much it.
pretty much it. Yeah. So that takes care of that.
Okay, are we ready for the all-time main eventer?
Nah,
Oh,
never
okay.
ready.
Well, I'm starting. ReZero. Boom. Next episode. Nobody can lift a Queen Stone alone. I don't know what a Queen Stone is. Probably should have looked it up. Do you know what a Queen Stone is, Irby?
Probably a heavy pillar.
Okay. Kid Garf. We start the episode with Kid Garf banging his head on the wall. That's how he got the scar on his head. You know, I don't know how he made a perfect X, but that's how he got his scar.
Yeah.
And go back to the present. Garf is standing in front of Amelia and Subaru, and Garf wants to destroy the entrance. Amelia is protecting it. Amelia called Garf scared. Garf was in denial, and Subaru called him half-assed. And Subaru started being really blunt about Garf and his past, and he was being a little too inconsiderate. But I guess someone like Garf needs that harshness.
Maybe
And
he wasn't being enough inconsiderate.
Garf, he revealed that he just wanted his mom to be happy, and she left him there and then just died. And then he wished that their suffering was worth them being abandoned. So Garf, instead of like you figure he was having a breakthrough, but no, he just went full villain mode and transformed. And Subaru, I think, called him a sweet idiot. And then Subaru used his dark magic and stabbed Garf with the necklace. And it sounded like Puck helped him, but
I want to say I don't think it was his magic, but I feel like that was kind of the witch's magic at that point.
no, the smoke. Well, I don't know what it was, but his circle broke again, so I think it was his magic.
Yeah.
And then Puck helped him, but like he made a snidey remark, and Garf ended up turning back from beast mode to just regular half beast, half human Garf bully mode, and Garf punched Subaru. Subaru tanked the punch, even though he was bleeding out his mouth and nose,
Yeah.
and he spit out a tooth, and then he starts talking, and I'm like, that's some awfully perfect teeth for someone who just spit out a tooth.
That's probably the molar. Back to.
And then my man started using the unseen hands and gave Garf a fucking uppercut. And we kind of just realized that Garf is just scared of change, man.
Yeah.
And
Like a bunch of people I know.
when he was still being stubborn, Patricia showed up and tackled the fuck out of him. And he like flashed back to Garf hurting him, like, oh, this was revenge.
Yeah.
And then Subaru
Revenge.
didn't want to use invisible hands or the other thing he said, so he's like, I'll call it invisible providence.
Yeah.
And,
Super.
and Subaru, Otto showed up, and Subaru attacked Otto for being reckless. And Patricia got jealous, and Garth was laying on Rom's lap. And even though Rom was being her usual cold self, because as soon as he woke up, she pushed him off. You can tell that like Rom cares about Garth, but her personality won't allow her to show it in the way that Subaru and Amelia kind of show their affection.
Hmm.
And Rom Rom was just straight up calling Garth out on his shit, and Garth went to take this first trial, and we see his past and like how his mom actually planned on coming back, and she went to look for his dad, I guess, and that she actually loved him, and he was just in denial to cope with the fact that like he didn't want to remember her love, and he just assumed he just like made it was easier for him to say she abandoned them.
Yeah, versus she died.
Yeah, so he gave himself the scar to forget the kiss she gave him on his forehead.
Yeah, she's going to get their daddy.
And then Garth came out a nicer person. Garth thanked Amelia and Subaru for helping them. We found that Garth is only turning 14. So that's why he was calling Subaru boss and whatnot, because he's older. And
Yeah.
um, Subaru wanted Garth to finish taking the trials, but then he's like, sorry, no can do. And Amelia's like, I want to do these trials. It's my task. But Amelia also says she wants to talk about the kiss when the trials are over. So, the guys might be, getting together. Who knows?
Maybe, maybe not.
And then Garth said he saw what Subaru was hiding, and I thought he meant the kiss, but it actually turned out Garth saw all the words of encouragement that Subaru wrote in the ruins, which being in there should have made him sick anyway because he lost his qualification. I don't know why
Yeah.
he didn't get hurt because Roswell got fucked up trying to enter it. Unless Roswell was faking his injuries.
I don't know.
So, what was confusing was he broke his promise to encourage her. He discouraged her to encourage her.
Mm.
And then we go to Amelia's test, and she's with Echidna who is talking down to her. And they say Amelia is the daughter of a witch. And I'm like, what? What the fuck is going on? Why does Echidna hate Amelia? What is going on? I don't know. So, next episode, A Journey Through Memories. Puck is crying and apologizing, and I was thinking we were going to get an origin story on Puck, but no. We get Mother Fortuna, which I have a theory that Fortuna is Puck, but
Yeah.
I'm not certain. And then I was wondering if Fortuna was a witch, and I was like, I don't know. I had a lot of questions in my head that needed answers, and like, cause it said that she isn't her real mother, but then she is her real mother, and then they keep Amelia locked away in a treehouse when um, the witch's cult comes out, because it looked like the witch's cult, and Petal Goose looked like a normal, or Betelgeuse, I'm sorry, it's B. Looked like a normal person. He called himself a sinner and asked about Amelia, and there was a spirit that helped Amelia get out the tree, and I thought that was Puck for a second. And it was just like, okay, it's not.
Mm.
And Echidna is still talking down to Amelia, and I'm just curious to why Echidna hates Amelia so much.
They look one and the same.
They do, but Echidna doesn't have the pointy ears.
Yeah.
And
And
the
their eyebrows are untamed.
and then yeah, Amelia overhears the conversation between Betelgeuse and Fortuna, and then the spirits lead her to the seal. The door seemed a lot smaller at first, and then Amelia got close to it, and it was fucking huge. And then we flash over to Garth talking about um, the letter, and then Shima wants to talk to Subaru, and then we go back to little Amelia is trying to open the door. The spirits are it's going back and forth a lot.
Yeah.
and the spirits are leading her somewhere. She calls Betelgeuse Goose, and Betelgeuse cries after meeting Amelia because he was like overwhelmed with joy. And Fortuna knows about their meeting, which was confusing to me. Like, she was okay with it. She wasn't even too mad about them meeting, even though she seemed like, "Hey, this is the last thing you're allowed to do."
Yeah. I kind of thought that Amelia walking back to the little treehouse was like because she locked up memories that she didn't want to remember. So I think that's why they went and back to the treehouse in the beginning. So
Yeah, that's why she went there. So like, she wants to
yeah,
remember everything vividly.
yeah,
And then Amelia called out Fortuna and Goose for having something, and then there's something Fortuna doesn't want to know about her parents, which I'm like, I don't really know who your parents are. And the spirits disappeared, and they're running from a guy he's who's called himself the the Greed Bishop.
yeah.
So then we go to the day Betelgeuse laughed, which I don't recall him laughing in this episode.
I don't either.
Yeah, it was just like, okay. It was like, is this the episode Betelgeuse goes from his normal, nice looking self to the fucking sociopath I know in the earlier episodes?
It's quite possible.
It wasn't. It wasn't. But, hey. Okay, so Shima is going to tell the story of the original Ryuzu. And we see Betty! Betty still talks the way she does, so my theory is completely wrong. It wasn't because of Echidna. Betty just always talk with, I suppose. It's kind of her way of saying, like, I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna pretend I don't want to.
Yeah, or keep it going. Or yeah, just do it.
So definitely acts like Echidna's child, and Echidna scolded Betty for being mean to Ryuzu, and said, Echidna's was like, she's like my daughter, and Betty is like, I am your daughter. And
Yeah,
Betty starts off being very bossy to Ryuzu, and Ryuzu starts asking Betty for help, and Betty's being stubborn, but she actually does want to help. She was doing it. She wanted seems like she wanted that relationship as much as Ryuzu did. And
yeah,
then an ancestor of Roswell appears,
yeah,
and the true reason, and then they drop a hint on the true reason for the sanctuary's existence. But then we go back to little Amelia, and Pandora shows up, the witch of, what did she say, Annika?
I can't um remember.
Yeah, she was the witch of something, but it didn't sound like a sin.
Anarchy. I don't know.
But is anarchy one of the sins?
Was she a sin?
She was the witch. She was one of the witches, and it looks like the witches are named after sins. You have the sloth, greed,
Maybe she wasn't named after anything. Maybe she just was a witch who just wanted to see other stuff burn.
or maybe she's not a witch. Maybe she's a false witch.
Who knows? I don't know anything.
So yeah, because like I felt like we met all the witches at the witches' tea party, but this one wasn't around. So Betelgeuse he planted the witch's hands, the unseen hands, in himself, and then he attacked um Corneas,
Yeah,
and Corneas untwisted his neck. Fortuna is trying to go help Betelgeuse by telling Amelia to just go, and Fortuna told Archie to take Amelia out of the forest, which this is where I thought is Puck Fortuna, because like the way she said goodbye and that she loved her, and she called her Mealy or Leah. She called her Leah, and I was just
yeah,
like, oh man, it's Fortuna Puck. I don't know. She's a spirit now, so I guess she doesn't really need a gender. So
yeah.
she could be Puck, and Puck's a cat, but like I thought Puck was definitely a guy.
I don't know.
So Archie's running with little Amelia, and then the Black Serpent appears. I didn't think we were going to see the Black Serpent in a flashback, but it seems like the Black Serpent has decaying magic, where like it just poisons you to death or some shit.
Yeah.
And the magic that Archie used wasn't working to stop the serpent's attack, so he presumably died right then and there.
But after my man got poisoned, he cut off his own leg.
Yeah, and then
I was like,
froze it
ooh, yeah.
and told
I was
Amelia
like,
to
phew.
run. And Cornelius is upset. Fortuna came back and interrupted, and the man snapped. And he seemed to respect Pandora so much, but then he told her to shut up and attacked her. But then she came back after we thought she died and like put the man in the ground and made him disappear. Now
Yeah.
here's my biggest gripe with this episode. Fortuna cares so much about Amelia, but chose to die with Betelgeuse rather than live with her.
I think she loved Betelgeuse too.
No, she
But
definitely loved him, but like, damn, bro, you chose Betelgeuse over Amelia.
it be like that. Love makes you do crazy things.
And then we literally got the title of the episode at the end of the episode, and Amelia decides she needs to give him the seal to save everyone, and she runs into Pandora. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cliffhanger, why am I not surprised?
Yeah. And kind of yeah, she was talking to her. Like, yeah, bring me everything and everyone can live. And I'm like, oh, okay. It's your fault.
So, any thoughts, comments, concerns?
Nope. I don't got no questions. But yeah, I did think that Fortuna might have been Puck.
Yeah,
So
I thought that as well. So, we'll see. I mean,
yeah.
it might have been easier for Puck to know what memories to seal if Puck was Fortuna in the past life. So, I don't know.
Or it might be her real father or something.
It could be her real father. I mean, called his daughter.
Yeah. But you also the wife could also call him daughter too. So I don't know.
Actually, so now I don't know. Now I don't think it's. I don't think Puck is Fortuna anymore because to Puck, a life without Leah wasn't a life without worth living. But to Fortuna, a life without Betelgeuse wasn't a life worth living. I guess.
Shoot. Maybe she forgot the memories of Betelgeuse when she sealed away Amelia's memories.
I doubt it, but we'll see. I feel like we'll get the
Shoot.
answer to this next episode.
No, we won't.
All right, you want to do the outro?
Yeah, I'll do the outro.
Might as well. You did the
Uh,
intro.
yeah. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed the content. Let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Uh, let us know how we can improve. Let us know if you want to hear something a little different, spice it up. Uh, what you got anything to say?
No,
No, nothing.
no, no.
Well, that's going to do it for this week's installment of Herbal Synergy. I hope you guys continue to listen, and we'll catch up with you next week.
Peace.
Peace.